Hi, my name is Brian Bloom. I play Captain Nick Reyes of the Retribution, and I'm also a writer on Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
So what has that been like in terms of doing that double duty on this game?
It's actually been an amazing experience. First of all, an honor to wear the two hats, to be what we sometimes call manager in the field. I have an opportunity to help create these characters, to bring this story to life, to have conceived of this story from whiteboard all the way through into, when it's going in the box. And so taking the scripts, taking the characters, taking it out into our motion capture stage, shooting these scenes, watching them grow, watching them evolve, iterating, it has been an amazing opportunity, amazing experience. And it's a unique kind of perspective that I have on what we're doing and how we're doing it. And working directly with the actors, not just submitting pages and then releasing from there, but even seeing that process through and standing there and saying my lines with these great actors and watching them take them to even higher ground, greater than the sum of their parts. We have an incredible cast, and it has been quite something to see them take those screenplay pages and translate and transmit them into the world of Call of Duty.
What was some of the inspiration of taking this story into outer space?
It's interesting because this is something the team was really excited about doing. This is something that the guys at Infinity Ward wanted to do. This was not imposed upon Infinity Ward. This is an organic kind of genesis for the entire team. And, when you talk to Top Gun pilots, and I really think this sums it up, you ask them what's next, and these guys are doing what I think we can all agree is the coolest job in the world, being a Top Gun pilot. And when you ask them, what's next for you? What's the next frontier? What's the next bell you want to ring? They talk about going to space. And so essentially, when you skin up into the world of Infinite Warfare, and you are Captain Nick Reyes, you are doing something that Top Gun pilots are even thinking about doing as their next step. And that's exciting. That's pretty awesome.
When it comes to the realism, can you talk a little about NASA and the Navy and how reality influenced the fiction of this story?
Absolutely. We spent a lot of time and continue to this day right here in San Diego, because this is the spot where a lot of our Navy SEAL advisors are from. The teams are close by. The Navy is here. We worked hard to create an aesthetic that is based and rooted in this, in modern day, in today's contemporary vehicles, in today's contemporary uniforms, in today's contemporary weapons. The engineering and design is based on what you might see if you stepped on a real aircraft carrier. But we also had to fuse that with this NASA space kind of aesthetic. And it is practical, it is functional. And I think as people walk through, it helps ground. These are gritty places. If you step on an aircraft carrier, you smell rust and steel. And I think what we did is evocative of something similar.
When it comes to Call of Duty, it's got very much Hollywood action set pieces, those types of experiences from a tentpole blockbuster summer movie. How does that impact you as you're telling the story to have those types of set pieces built in?
Well, the set pieces in Call of Duty have always been paramount, and this version is no exception, and I think even more amazing in some ways, because we took it to the new frontier. We are dealing with zero G, low G. We are dealing with places that have little or no atmosphere in some cases, entirely different geography, entirely different geology, and that gave us opportunities to think of these things in a whole new light, to change the environment. They are incredibly exciting tentpole set pieces, and but they're against a backdrop that you've never seen before, and they have mechanics and features that you've never seen before. And that gave us an opportunity in telling the story to look at how does you're playing Captain Nick Reyes. You are not the FNG. You are not a gruntier. You're not green. You're not the new guy. And that was both a challenge and an opportunity. for the player to be the leader this time, to have agency, to have control, to make choices, to be a willful protagonist, to move forward, to choose how and where he's going to deploy with his team. And along the way, you experience some amazing, exciting events. And again, space is also your enemy in this game. Space itself, because it is a harsh environment. It is difficult, impossible to survive there without technology, without knowledge, without support from some kind of home base. And with that in mind, the set pieces include whole other dimensions and levels that we've never had before.
When it comes to Call of Duty, they also have been pushing storytelling, character development. What are the challenges of doing that in the middle of all this first-person shooting?
Well, it's interesting to tell a story from mostly one perspective. You don't have the cinematic language. You can't cut to the perfect view of a character experiencing a moment. So it's both challenging, but it's also liberating in some ways, because the player here is the cinematographer. The player here is controlling his camera, his or her camera. So you have, if it caters to your play style. If you want to stop and see and explore the retribution, if you are the kind of person that wants to see, am I interacting with this character? Is there feedback here from this character? You will find that we deliver on that. You walk through the retribution and its crew see you and understand you as their leader. And as you move through the space, it says, yes, sir, and hello, sir, and it gives you information that you need to fight this battle. But we also have cinematics in the game, and that's kind of new for Infinity Ward. And these cinematic cutscenes are exquisite, and that gave us an opportunity to use the cinematic language. We have a fantastic cinematographer, Jeff Negus, again, this is a classically told story, good versus evil, and you will see some classically shot scenes, but against a backdrop that is pretty awesome, space aircraft carrier. So you will see the faces of your crew, you will hear the voices of your crew in high definition, and that will only get you closer in this immersive experience. You will your relationships are reinforced, are built on actually spending time with these people in high def. So the cinematic cutscenes are another aspect of this thing that's kind of new ground and a fantastic place to tell the story and get to know the relationships between these people, what they're up against.
Can you talk a little about the antagonist that Kit Harington plays? Because in Call of Duty, there's always kind of a front and center out there as you go up against the bad guy.
Kit Harington plays Admiral Salen Koch. I don't think it's fair to say he's the bad guy. I prefer to look at it, we prefer to look at it as the face of the enemy. This is an enemy dead set on eradicating everything Earthborn from the solar system. This is an enemy who has developed an entirely new culture, a radical culture, an insurgent culture far from Earth. And that space gave way to martial law and extremely, I would call them dangerous people. And he is the face of those dangerous people. He is a conqueror. Admiral Salen Koch has our way of life centered in his reticle.
When it comes to performance capture, how have you seen that technology advance, and how does that help you as an actor?
Our performance capture process is state-of-the-art, that's for sure. We have our own motion capture space that was built exclusively for Infinity Ward, in this case to make Infinite Warfare and future games. Our cast gets together and we shoot these scenes as a team. We put 4, 5, 6 people in the suit at the same time, so our feedback, our chemistry, our real-life relationships compound into the final product, and I think it should translate into the final game. You will get a sense that these people spent time together. You know, in the military, you go out with your unit and you count on each other. You're getting into the proverbial foxhole and fighting a war, and in many cases, trying to save each other, trying to save the man next to you. And a cast in its best aspects is really the same thing. So in the old days, they'd shoot a game. People would get into the booth and they would record separately, and these things would be edited together. And right away, there's decay on the generation. There's decay on human contact, human nature, relationships, and chemistry. We did the opposite. There's no decay. We're enhancing all those things by bringing the cast together, getting to know each other. We train together with Navy SEALs. We spend time with our advisors. Some of us went to real-life aircraft carriers and spent the night and did trap landings and really got to know what it was like in Pry-Fly, what it was like in command and control, what it was like on the bridge. And we brought those things back and incorporated them into the game.
Did you get to do all that?
I did. It was awesome. It was amazing. The Navy is incredible, and Captain Nick Reyes is essentially a conglomerate of a SCAR, a Navy SEAL, and a Top Gun pilot, and that's an incredible combination of skills. I mean, if you took those two things, I think that a lot of us, we're the standard bearers of the military fantasy in games, and this is an amazing fantasy because, again, you're not the grunt. You're a Navy SEAL and a Top Gun pilot and both of those things. So your toolbox, your skill set, your weapons, your fieldcraft is the highest there is.
Did you get a sense from working with those guys of how popular Call of Duty is amongst the military?
It was amazing how popular Call of Duty is amongst the military. We, everywhere we went, they sort of treated us, for better or worse, like rock stars, even though they are the rock stars. And we felt the same way about them. So the mutual admiration was quite something. Those guys and gals are incredible. When we went to the bridge of USS Theodore Roosevelt, there was a 19-year-old woman at the helm, and that was amazing to see. And that also helps verify this idea that we also have really strong female characters in this game. Lieutenant Salter, Captain Reyes's wingman, is the same thing, a SCAR and a Top Gun pilot, and tough as nails, and somebody that you want to deploy with if you're moving into a target-rich environment, that's for sure.
When it comes to Call of Duty, you've got 3 different studios working on this franchise. How does what other studios do as they release games impact you guys creatively and encourage you to kind of one-up with the new game?
I hope that the studios are inspiring each other, and that if there's competition, it's healthy competition to give our players and our community the growth and the evolution that they're looking for, while also staying rooted in the thing that is Call of Duty. Giving you the weapons that feel like what you're used to, giving you the boots on the ground combat that you're used to, and then advancing the entire narrative and with this new environment. And again, hopefully all of the studios are collectively moving this sort of gigantic labyrinth forward. And I know we sure are. Infinite Warfare is going to be exciting, and we've done things that are absolutely new and innovative, while at the same time giving you your boots on the ground Call of Duty that you're used to. So that combination should be thrilling to a lot of players.
Just from your own perspective, what are your thoughts about this explosion of esports we've seen with Call of Duty over the last 5 years, and that there are now professional video game players?
I think it's amazing. I've had the opportunity to interface with some of these professional video game players, and I understand that we're moving more into that direction. COD XP is coming back this year, and that's going to be incredible. It's 5 years later. People are still talking about the other event. This is a culture. This is a community. This is a movement, and that's all part of that movement. What's awesome is that you don't have to be that person to play this game, but many people who have that skill set and who are that deeply, they have that dexterity and they have that commitment to this. Yes, there's money to be made for those people. This is an entertainment product. It's also, it can be looked at as a way to compete. It can be looked at as a way to sit by yourself and have a single player experience that's between you and these terrific characters. There's a lot of different dimensions to what you can do when you put this incredible thing called Call of Duty into your console and start up the game and play it how you want and to who you are. And those kind of players are a part of that in a huge way. They're pretty awesome. I am in awe of them.
And the last thing I wanted to ask you, just in general, having just written this game, what potential do you see for Call of Duty as a franchise to go linear, either big screen or television?
Listen, war in general is, stories are characters thrown into conflict and how they resolve conflict. Every version of Call of Duty, every great story, every great war story ought to be that. But what war has that some stories don't is war is that conflict. So it is a natural progression to explore and perhaps iterate on and produce, whether it's television or movies or other platforms that we are not even aware of yet, as entertainment continues to kind of fuse its platforms. So yes, Call of Duty as a movie, Call of Duty as a television show, Call of Duty as whatever the thing is that is the way that you experience your entertainment, why not?
And as a writer, what are your thoughts about the potential for virtual reality, which is all over Comic-Con this year?
Again, that's why I just said, in terms of whatever the next entertainment format, forum, platform might be, this is that would just be, going to VR would be incredible. And when we shoot on the motion capture stage, we use a virtual camera, because we're all standing there in a very open space wearing our sealskin suits with the balls and dots that maybe some of you have seen, or maybe you're seeing now if this is over some footage. And we use very sort of sparse, I would say, pieces of set to give touch points that kind of shape the environment. But for the most part, that environment's being created in the box. When you look through the virtual camera, you get to see the set itself in close to full detail. And so you can see right there the potential for the VR, because if that virtual camera became goggles or glasses or whatever's next, as long as people aren't getting hurt and they can find a way to move around and get that feedback and have that VR experience, either together again or alone or competitively, it's just going to continue to evolve and open up deeper and higher places for the thing that is Call of Duty to move.